Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the 3 Topics Gamer, here to share with you another of my worst to best tier list style ranking video to share with you guys today. Now, at the time that this video is going to be uploaded, we are only probably a couple of days away from the release of the next installment in the Call of Duty franchise, simply titled Call of Duty Vanguard. And I thought that, since another Call of Duty game is coming out, this would be the perfect time for me to actually go back and do my own personal ranking tier list style of all of the Call of Duty games that I have played. Now, there have been a lot of Call of Duty games. So for this particular list, I'm simply focusing on the main series of games. I'm not focusing on any of the mobile games or side games that have come out over the years. So that pretty much gives us about 16 titles. And boy, I have to say, just looking at this list, I can tell the Call of Duty franchise, at least for me, has been very up and down. I don't consider myself to be the biggest fan, but I am a fan, and yeah, there have been some great experiences and there have been some not so great experiences. Where Vanguard is going to sit once I'm done playing it over the next, and when I get it in the next couple of days, is very much going to be very, very questionable. But hopefully it'll be an overall good experience. So before I get into my personal ranking, I would just like to say, if you do happen to enjoy this little ranking of mine, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep track of me on my future videos, including more upload videos, because I am going to be uploading a lot of content for the month of November. So as we look into the tier list style ranking, as we have it set up here, I have it separated into 6 categories. They go from I love these games, I enjoyed the game, I thought it was okay, some of these were just flat out forgettable, so one in particular I didn't like, and then there's just been one that I'd never played, which, they did add it, so let's get that one out of the way. The only one that I haven't played on this list was Vanguard. Now, I think at the end I'll probably express where I hope it'll end up landing on this list, but that's the only one that I just haven't. Well, actually, take that back. There's one other one that I haven't played, and that has to go to Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Simply because it had no campaign and it was online only, and I just do not like games like that in general. Like, if you can't give me believe it or not, I'm actually one of the rare people that actually goes into a Call of Duty game for its campaign. That is shocking to some people, but yeah, I generally do want to know what the story or what they bring to the campaign. If the campaign is good enough, then I will venture into the multiplayer and co-op. So now that we got this two out of the way, starting in order, I'll just do it in this order as it's said here. The first Call of Duty, I think it was okay. I think elements of it still hold up to this day, but it is very much kind of outdated. I mean, visually, gameplay wise, it was very much a product of its time, but it did set the standard for the series, and that's why I think it is just okay. Going into Call of Duty 2, certainly an improvement over the first one. Still same era, World War II, can't go wrong with that, and I think it's not a major improvement over the first game, but yeah, I thought it was a good enough improvement to have a number of moments that stand out. Next, we have Call of Duty 3. Now, I did actually enjoy this one a lot. Now, I think this is the point where we're kind of starting to transition into the period in which these games definitely start getting to the peak of their enjoyment. But I do think that 3 is probably the lowest in terms of the amount of enjoyment I actually got out of it. But again, personally, World War II is my favorite genre when it comes to any of these first-person shooter games. So if you place it in that setting, it gets some extra points with me. It just seems like the more we went into the future, as you'll see from this list, I started enjoying it less and less. I prefer to play games like this in the past rather than in the future, or where it gets all crazy and science fictional and just over the top. Next, we go to probably the beginning of the best era of Call of Duty, which I believe is the beginning of the modern warfare series. I think that point on, that was when the series was really at its absolute best, and it really was kicked off with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 4. Or technically, this is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It gets kind of confusing from moving forward. But this is the one that kind of set the standard that I would even say, after all these years, we're still following. They're still kind of following the overall makeup of how the game actually operates in terms of its gameplay and certain areas of its structure. And it still holds up. I mean, they recently remastered this, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and I recently got to go back, replay it, and stream it, and heck, it was just as enjoyable as it was when I played this first in, I believe, high school. It's crazy to think that that game came out in high school, and yet it still holds up to this day. So, yeah, that's where I would put it. But that is very much surpassed by its sequel, which was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which I absolutely loved. This is without question the strongest entry in the Modern Warfare series. This is definitely, many can consider this to be probably the greatest Call of Duty game, and I don't feel that way, but this is definitely a top tier Call of Duty game. But I perfectly understand why. I think story wise it was great. I think multiplayer was improved. Pretty much it did everything a sequel should do, but it had just the right mix of things, and it probably had probably one of the more better compelling stories because it involved just a lot of really crazy elements, and it had a good structure to it, and visually it still holds up. That is followed up by Modern Warfare 3. I'm not doing this in terms of when they were released because there's releases, but I'm just how I do it. I would say I would put Modern Warfare 3 behind Modern Warfare or Call of Duty 4, and I think it did a good job at closing that arc. I think the Modern Warfare arc was probably the strongest main trilogy of games in the series. Some weren't able to do that as well, but I do think that overall the Modern Warfare trilogy is, or the original Modern Warfare trilogy is probably within that strong period of Call of Duty games that certainly came down. Now I'm gonna follow that up with one of my personal favorites, and that is World at War. There's absolutely no question when it comes to World War II games. Modern Warfare is World at War is my favorite in the Call of Duty franchise in terms of World War II focus games. I thought the story was absolutely great. This was the introduction of the zombie maps for co-op, and that alone changed the game for me. It was the one defining factor I think that separated Treyarch from Infinity Ward, and that was at a time where they were kind of going back and forth in terms of trying to kind of over I would say outdo each other. You had two different developers working on the same franchise, but they were kind of switching year after year after year. And I think the fact that they were kind of competing against each other, I feel that maybe they weren't, but I feel that they were competing against each other, produced two different styles of Call of Duty games that were very, very different, but they were excellent in their own rights. And that is why World at War still stands up to this day. It's to this day, again, it is still my favorite World War II Call of Duty game of all time. But as great as that is, that was surpassed a little bit to my overall favorite Call of Duty game of all time, which has to go to Black Ops. I did not know when I first played Black Ops. It seemed like it was going to be a great game. I had no idea it was going to be a sequel to World at War. That was a complete shock to me. So when I first played the game for the first time, when I first heard the World at War theme start playing, it is the only time in a Call of Duty game I've ever openly freaked out because it was shocking to me. And the fact that Call of Duty Black Ops was the first time it had probably one of its strongest stories because you were actually playing a character who had a voice. And the fact that it was jumping between the era of like Vietnam and a little bit in World War II or the last days of World War II was something I thought was very, very impressive. And I thought the zombie maps were even better in Black Ops than they were in World at War. And I'll openly say this. I had, without question, one of the greatest online multiplayer and even co-op experiences on the game. Not just in terms of Black Ops, not in terms of just Call of Duty, but I'm talking about gaming in general. And if anyone would like me to go over that story, just let me know in the comments down below, and I might do a video about it. The story is kind of crazy, but it still holds up to this day. I have yet to have an experience like that before or since, but it was absolutely amazing. Now, if I had to follow that up with Black Ops 2, I think to me, Black Ops 2 was probably the last one in that series I thought was really, really excellent. It was a good continuation of Black Ops. I thought it was interesting how it had multiple endings depending on if you did extra objectives. Certain missions could actually play out differently. In most of these first-person shooter games, they're very, very linear. But I think this was their attempt to experiment in terms of having certain missions in different ways depending on how you performed. And that led to different endings, which to me added to a lot of replayability, which I certainly did do with Black Ops 2, because there were some sections that I wasn't quite happy with in terms of how I performed, and it convinced me to go back and play them over again. Now, other games would try to do this, but I don't think it was executed nearly as well. But I do think that in terms of trying to be different and be non-linear, I think that Black Ops 2 was really the last time it did a very, very good job of actually doing that. And past that point, it just didn't get very, very good at all. It started going seriously downhill after that. Now, these next couple of games are just all forgettable. Call of Duty Infinity Warfare. This is when we're starting to get into the future, and I just generally do not like it when the Call of Duty games were doing this. It was getting way too over the top, way too convoluted. I mean, don't get me wrong. Call of Duty is supposed to be just a simple first-person shooter experience, but the fact that they were trying to do more and add more just elements, it just got out of control. And that was followed up with Advanced Warfare. That was forgettable. These are games that I know I played, I know I finished, but maybe after a couple of days, I ended up just completely forgetting about it. And Ghosts, forgettable. And I think Black Ops 3. I just think that entire period of these games taking place in like the future just flat out just didn't work for me. Nothing about the story stood out gameplay wise. They were probably pretty standard. I mean, there's like there's a standard feel to Call of Duty games, and I think while all those games carried them, I think once I was done with their campaigns that were forgettable, I may have dabbled in their multiplayers maybe, but you know when you've played enough of these games, you kind of know what to expect from multiplayer. And multiplayer, I would say past Black Ops 2, hardly ever impressed me. Now, as we kind of go into kind of the rejuvenation or the renaissance of the Call of Duty franchise with like Modern Warfare, I actually did enjoy it more than I thought I would. It kind of acted as a little bit of a reboot, like I guess not. Well, maybe it's kind of like a reboot, retelling of the Modern Warfare series. I'm sure they're going to continue it at some point. But I was actually surprised. I ended up enjoying it a bit more. I still don't think it was as good as the original Modern Warfare series of games, but definitely a good step in the right direction after so many years of these games just not being very good to me. And then I would follow it up with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I thought it did a lot of good things. It definitely felt much more traditional than games that had come out during that future period. But I don't think it quite captured the magic that I would say the like games like Black Ops or even World at War did. But I thought it was definitely a step up of like Call of Duty 3. And that leads to the most recent one, which was Call of Duty Cold War. I flat out did not like this game. So much so that I couldn't even finish it. I think I played through like maybe 4 missions, and then I could tell what the game was trying to do, and I just didn't like it. It was trying too hard with the story to be so different that it lost so much focus, and the story became so disjointed that I just didn't want to finish it. I mean, there's the point about the campaign is you want to keep it simple as more of an introduction into multiplayer. But if you can't even get your story right, then your multiplayer is not even going to interest me at all. And that's what happened. That's like the first time that has happened with a Call of Duty game. I mean, even with the future games, as convoluted and as over the top and ridiculous as those games got, at least they were easy to follow and simple. I may forget what happens about them when I'm done playing the game, but at least I could, in the moment, focus on them. I could not do that with Cold War, and it was just trying to do too many things and be too expansive in all the wrong ways, and it ended up hurting my experience with Cold War, which is why it is to this day the outside of I'd say Black Ops 4, which I didn't even want to play. It is the only Call of Duty game I've ever played that I could not finish. I got annoyed with it. Now, just as a quick thought, if just from what I've seen of Vanguard and my personal just thoughts and hopes for it, if I had to pick where I hope to put the Vanguard, I hope somehow it ends up being in the enjoyment area. Hopefully, I would say maybe I would put it maybe somewhere ahead of Call of Duty 3. But if I had to guess, I think it'll probably mix somewhere around Modern Warfare and World War II. That's where I am expecting it'll fall. Maybe it'll fall into okay, I don't know, but that's overall where I hope it will be placed when I'm done playing it and get a chance to review it. So that is my tier list ranking of all the primary set of Call of Duty games. Now, if you have played a good amount of these or even all of them, I would love to know how would you rank them yourself. So be sure to share your ranking with me and everyone else in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will catch you all guys next time.